Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be on rebuilding a carburetor for an SRM-225 string trimmer. This is just going to be on the full detailed carburetor rebuild in 4K. For the video where I show you how to take it out of the machine and the troubleshooting steps that you can go through if it still doesn't run or if there's something else wrong, there will be a link in the upper right hand corner of the video that you can click on. You can see the rest of the troubleshooting video, or the video on the SRM-225 itself. This video is just going to be on the carb clean, so without further ado, let's get into it. First thing I see, looks like this thing is a K9339A RB-32 Zama carburetor. Guess, yeah, Zama. This is the original OEM one. Actually, you want to just start by taking this off. Let's be very careful here so we remember the order of everything that comes out, and just try not to let any springs go flying across the garage. Alright, what do we got here? Should have brought a small flat blade screwdriver to pry with, maybe something like that. I don't want to destroy anything yet. There we go. Got that cracked open. Alright, so that's the float bowl area. This is where the gas comes to be metered. Oh, I think we're going to end up putting a kit in here anyway, but I just want to get... It's not completely petrified, but that's... I think it should move easier than that. This thing should be able to move easier because this is actually what meters the fuel coming in, right? So the fuel is going to come in through the needle and seat, and this guy is going to push. So when the cavity or bowl or cavity, whatever you want to call it, fills up, this thing swells out. And it is not pushing on this lever, so the needle is blocking the fuel flow. When the engine uses enough fuel, it will draw the fuel up into the carb body and into the engine, and this diaphragm will collapse down, and this little pin will push on this, allowing more fuel to be pumped into this chamber. If this thing is not flexible, which this one is kind of, but not really, it's stiff, right? You're either going to not get enough fuel or you're going to just flood the engine. It's just going to flood over. It's just going to stay open or closed the entire time, and you're not going to get the right amount of fuel in the bowl cavity area. It's like a carb bowl in a 4-stroke, right? So if you don't have the right level, if you're constantly starving for fuel or you have too much, it's going to overflow, or you're not going to get enough fuel to run the engine. Same idea. So this thing is not... is probably not doing what it's supposed to, so that's one. So we'll replace that. We'll get a kit and throw that in there. But let's continue disassembling. Let's take this out. Usually there are there's a spring and some other small parts in here, possibly. Okay, it's not a good screwdriver for that. Let's try this one. Do not... Oh, it doesn't want to come. Again, be able to get that off. Let me see what other screwdrivers I have. I got it. I got it with this one. Oh, there's a spring coming with it. So let's hold all of that stuff in here. What do we got here? Excuse me while I sit down. We got the float, or the arm, the spring. So we got that. We got a spring here. Let's try not to launch that. Okay. And let me wipe all the goo off of that. And there we have the needle. All right, that's good. Nothing else in here. Guess not. All right, what do you want to take apart next? How about the primer bulb? Is this gonna just fall apart on us? Let's see. All right, so that comes off like that. Is this gonna come off? Oh, the bulb itself came off. Is that holding us? I've got a pile of screws here. I'm counting on you guys to remember where all of these went, because they seem to be different. All right, so that's, oh, well, there's your problem right there. Well, at least one of them. All right, so what do we got? Let me pick away at this. So this is another diaphragm. I will figure out and explain how this works in a minute. All right, so it went like this. So this, the mylar diaphragm went on top of the felt, this two pieces felt diaphragm, which went on top of this white piece right here. Okay. All right, so we got that. Are these all the same screws? No, it's different. What else can we take apart? So there's a screen in here. This is supposed to keep all the scuzz out of the engine. Out of the carburetor. It may be doing its job, but I don't know. It's pretty dirty, so we're going to try and dig that out of there. But before we do that, do we want to take the throttle assembly apart? It's under tension here. I feel like I don't think we do. I don't think we have to take that apart. I don't think there's anything up here except for the spring assembly that moves the throttle. So you know what? I'm gonna leave that be and concentrate on cleaning the carb body out and this piece out. Let's see if we can dig this screen out of here. I want to. I don't want to mess it up. You know, I don't know, I only bought a gasket kit. I didn't buy the full carb kit, so this is not part of the kit. Let's see if we can grab that. All right, well, good enough. Kind of bent it up. Hopefully it's not broken. We can bend that back into shape and put it back. Yeah, it's full of scuzz down there. So I'm going to take a hot minute and just take some carb cleaner. And I'm going to blow out, basically I'm going to go through each passage and just blow it out. Not too much pressure, you know, just like... You know, that I don't know if there are check balls or anything in here that you can blow out, but, you know, I'll be careful and gingerly about that and kind of figure out where everything goes and things like that, and I'll bring you back after I'm done. So here where all of that stuff was caked on, there's still a lot of stuff left over that's kind of raised up. It might interfere with the gasket making a good seal, so I'm going to take a brass brush, kind of work on that. A steel brush like this one may be a little bit too harsh. You'll end up marring the aluminum, and that's probably not good. So brass brush is good for this kind of stuff. So I'm just going to work on that a little bit and then continue, you know, spraying everything out. You can do the same thing for anywhere where the gasket kind of stuck onto the body. If you are going to replace the gasket and throw in a gasket set like we're doing here, you know, just clean up the surfaces like that with the brass brush till they're, you know, good and clean, and should be good. I have everything all cleaned up, and before I put it back together, I'm going to try and explain how this thing actually works. So that you're just, I educated myself. I figured I'd educate you as well. We'll start here. This port, or this channel, is connected to the crankcase of the engine itself. As the piston moves up and down, it creates a pressure differential in the crankcase. So it's kind of like a pulse, a vacuum pulse, or a pressure pulse, whatever you want to call it. And that is connected right here. So as the engine is moving up and down, there is a pulse that travels along here, and it comes out right there. So right here is where the termination of that pulse signal is. And this gasket actually goes like this. This gasket is connected, or it lies right there over top. So this big area right here is pulsing. So when the engine is running, this area right here is moving up and down very quickly. It's not much, but just enough to be able to kind of pump the fuel from the fuel tank into this chamber. And what I mean by that is that, so this thing is moving up and down, and this, let me turn it around here. So this is on top like that, and this is the fuel coming in. So this is the fuel port coming in, and that is connected to, I can just show you right here so I can blow some carb cleaner through it. It is connected to that hole right here. That in turn is connected to, it's like a maze in here, so you can actually kind of see the outline. So that is connected to, let me get a pointer here, right here. So the fuel comes from the tank into there, through that hole, and then down into that hole right there. That hole is subsequently connected to that hole right there. So it's drilled through, and on top of that hole we have a flap. This is a one-way valve, so it allows fluid to move this way up towards you through it, but it will not allow fluid to move backwards because it seals off that port. So fluid can come up, it can push this flap up and get around it going up, but it cannot go backwards. And that's important because we're getting back to that pulse. So that is connected, that chamber where the fuel goes is connected right here. And this goes through. So can't see, but it goes through right there. Right? So those two are connected. That is the top side of this big chamber that's pulsing from the engine. So the fuel is being comes from the tank up through here, through this one-way valve, up here and into this large chamber right there. And since this chamber is pulsing, and since so it's creating more or less pressure in the chamber, it's actually drawing the fuel from the tank through this one-way valve into this chamber. That is, and it can't go back. So every time there's a more negative pulse and the fuel, or a positive pressure, and the fuel wants to be pushed back, it can't. So it stays in that chamber. So it's a one-way flow of fuel. All right. So the fuel is pumped into this chamber by that pulsing of the engine. Then it comes out through here. So this is connected right there to this port. Did I get you in the eye? So that right there, it goes into that tiny little chamber, which you can see the mark here is this chamber right here. And there's a hole. And that hole now goes, it is connected to that. I don't know if you saw that, but right there. See that? So the fuel is pumped out of that through here and through another one-way valve, one-way gate, right? So there's another one, another flap. The fuel can come up through that, but not go back. And that chamber is in turn connected to, obviously you can actually see it right there, this chamber, which is where this screen goes. So that's where the fuel is filtered. And that chamber is connected to, that is where the needle is. So that's the needle right there, right? Okay, so we got the fuel, you follow me? So from the tank, pumped through this chamber, out through here, out through another, through two one-way valves, and then goes into the bowl chamber, or whatever you want to call it, cavity, where the fuel is metered and goes to the engine. Okay, so we're there now, and so that's where this comes into play. So the needle and the arm are here, and as I explained earlier, as this thing fills up and is, you know, drawn through, this diaphragm will kind of meter how much fuel is actually in this chamber at any given time, you know. So, but then we're not done yet, because after we're in this chamber, so this is actually the return. So this hole right here is the return. Whoa, so you can see that that's connected to right there, that hole. So we're back here on the business side of the carburetor with this diaphragm. So right here, we're looking at that. It gets the fuel, returns back to this chamber. And where is that connected to? So let's see. That it is gonna be this chamber right here. So if we lay that on and we mirror that, so that is this chamber right here. And this is a one-way, there's a check ball in there, one-way check ball. And it will allow fuel to, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, the carb spray doesn't really go through it very easily, but there it is. Can you see it shooting out? Shot all the stuff over there on the bench, but so it shoots out of that hole right here, right there. And that fills, so this, if you remember, that's where this bulb is, okay? So this bulb, the fuel return goes through this primer bulb area. And then, so in this area, when the fuel gets in here, obviously it's got to go back out through there, right? So where is that? That is connected to that little hole. And so the fuel travels over here, and if you can see on the gasket side of things, it will get to this chamber here. Sorry, got you in front. So over here. And all right, so what is that now connected to? Well, as you can see, if we turn it, so that outline is connected to here, yet another check ball. And this is connected to the return line that goes back to the tank. So that means, and so all of this stuff is all one way. Even if the fuel pump and the engine is not running and you're pushing the primer bulb, right, you are creating that pulse when you're pushing this over here. You're creating positive and negative pressure, and then these check balls actually only allow fuel to go one way. So you can actually pump fuel through yourself by pushing this primer bulb, and that's going to get fuel to go through the entire system, just as if the fuel pump was running. Make sense? The only thing left to explain about this is, I think, so there's another little hole here. Can you see that? And I think that is where the jet is, whether that is the jet or there's some other fitting down in there or up in there, metering the fuel. I would assume there is, but I believe that is the jet, and that is where the fuel is, gets into the carb chamber up here. So it is when the engine is running, that's how the fuel is actually fed into the body and gets into the combustion chamber and you know, makes power. So all clear? Did I forget anything? Did I say anything wrong? If so, feel free to correct me in the comments. All right, now time for this. This is the gasket and diaphragm kit. It's a OEM Zama GND-106 ZAM. I think it's just GND-106. And that comes with replacement diaphragms and gaskets. I would not recommend, you know, a lot of people say, just, you know, don't do this. Go and replace the carburetor. You know, you can get one on Amazon for $10, $15, whatever. You know, and the OEM gasket set, I don't know how much this was. This was also like $8, $9, right? Why do this when you can replace the carburetor? Well, you know, I have one of these Echo trimmers, and I have, you know, other two-cycle engines, and I'll tell you what, I've done that. I have gone and bought the $15 carburetor on Amazon and thrown it on there. And yeah, it's easy to do, but I'll tell you what, they almost, you know, at least 50% of the time, if not more, do not work correctly. You know, it won't idle, it won't rev up right, you know, it doesn't, it's got no top end, it's got, you know, idle problems, got starting problems, you know, something. You know, yes, it kind of works, but it doesn't work right. Rebuilding these OEM carburetors is almost always, you know, it gets you back to, you know, a well-running engine. You don't have any of those problems. You don't have idle problems. You don't have any of that problem. I mean, obviously, if you have, you know, if your crank seals are bad or there's some other problem, you're going to have problems. But if it's just carb problems, I always recommend just rebuild the OEM carburetor or get a replacement OEM carburetor. Do not mess with those third-party carburetors, the cheap ones. And if you're going to do gaskets only, buy the, you know, try and find the OEM gasket set. I mean, there are other brands that are decent, you know, like Stens and things like that. They make, you know, you can do it, but I always try and get the OEM everything for these two-cycle carburetors because I've just had so many problems in the past. So there's my spiel. Let me open this up and let's get to reassembling all of these parts. Got all our parts and gaskets. Let's get to reassembly. You could replace the primer bulb. This one, it's not, you know, cracked or anything like that. It's still got some spring. It's a little bit stiff. Okay, let's get this stuff back on. And then we got that one screw, so one of these is going to be different than the rest. I think it's that one. Next, let's deal with this. Needle, I believe, goes on there like that. And this spring goes in there. Sits down in there like that. And then when I try and put all of this together, it's going to launch across the garage. There we go. Ha ha ha. Not, well, I shouldn't say not today. Not done yet. Nope. That's sticking out. Gotta do it again. I look right to you? You know what I totally forgot? The screen. Why don't you guys say something? Now I gotta take this back apart. Let's put this screen back in. Come on, I think I bent it out of shape, cleaning it and getting it out. It doesn't want to go back. Come on. You will go back one way or the other. There you go. You know, you don't want it to like protrude up like that. It's not good. It's going to interfere with the gasket. That looks better. That's more flush. Yeah, I'm satisfied with that. All right, back on the bowl side. Yes, like that. All right, we're out of parts. With that, the carb clean is complete. If you want to see how this is, how I reinstall this in the machine and see the machine run and other troubleshooting steps, you know, when it doesn't run correctly, there is the link for the video at the beginning. You can click on that. It'll be in the end credits. There are other things you can do if it doesn't run correctly. There are, you know, things like you can play with the jet. So the jet is down there, and I will show how to adjust that in that video. So, but with that, this video is done. That is the rebuild of this carburetor. And I hope you liked it, and I hope you found it useful. And if you like my videos, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you on the next one.